Welcome back to the Detroit Free Press Game of the Week. 2:22 to go in the opening half. We apologize for any technical difficulties tonight, dealing with some extensive weather issues here in Lapeer, Michigan. 15-0 is the Davison lead over their rival Lapeer Lightning. Lapeer yet to really piece together any sort of promising drives offensively, as the Davison offense, led by Brendan Sullivan, who's already compiled 2 rushing touchdowns tonight, is getting set to roll back out onto this gray field here at Lapeer High School. Perhaps a little 2-minute drive in the works now for the Cardinal offense. 5 receivers set, pretty rare on a night like this. They go to the ground and use the receivers as a decoy. So a little block on the outside. That time for Siderman, who finds the edge and picks up a pretty good chunk on 1st and 10. That was one of the things about this offense for Davison a week ago in the 61-6 win over Arthur Hill. Big chunks on 1st down, big chunks on 2nd down, and they really moved the chains early. 2 minutes to play now in the 2nd quarter. Cardinal up 15-0, and that was enough for a 1st down up to the 38-yard line. Once again, working out of an empty backfield here is Brendan Sullivan. They go to that same look with 5 receivers. This time he goes to the air. A rare pass tonight, and it dangerously slipped through the hands of the intended receiver. He's looking for Tavion Warren, the transfer from Grand Blanc, who's been a really nice injection into their offense. Incomplete though, so it brings up 2nd and 10 from the 38-yard line. So Lapeer defense on the flip side that struggled with that a week ago, allowing big chunks on 1st and 2nd down to Brother Rice. Brother Rice team with a lot of weapons again this year. Sullivan keeps it, finds a hole left side. Now he hits inside. He's to the 2nd level, into Lapeer territory, to the 20, 10. Lovely move by Sullivan. He might have just picked up his 3rd rushing touchdown of the night, and he did.
There's a flag on the play.
There's a flag down. If it stands, it's a 62-yard run all the way to the end zone. This may be coming back though. It is a personal foul against Davison, so that'll nullify what would have been a 62-yard touchdown run by Brendan Sullivan. So the score remains 15-0 in favor of Davison with 1:25 to go in this 1st half. And that would have just been deflating if you're Lapeer. You look back to a week ago against Brother Rice, and it was a 2-score game, but then the Lapeer defense gave up a quick strike towards the end of that 1st half. Brother Rice went up 3 scores after a blocked field goal attempt from Lapeer. Took it all the way back, and all of a sudden it was a 3-score game. Brother Rice didn't look back after that. So I think if you're Lapeer right now, keeping this within 2 scores feels very key with 1:25 to go on the 1st half clock. 2nd and 3 from the 45 will be the upcoming down in yardage for the Davison offense. And the timeout called by Davison. Both of these teams looking to gather momentum heading into the playoffs. Davison has picked up right where they left off. 10 consecutive wins dating back to last fall. We'll take this time to remind you that tonight's Detroit Free Press Game of the Week is presented by Detroit Public Schools Community District. Every school day counts for our children's academic, social, and emotional development. Detroit Public Schools Community District is preparing students for their rise and is safely providing face-to-face learning and online learning at home or in a learning center. Enroll today. Visit DetroitK12.org or call 313-240-4377. Remember, when students rise, we all rise. Back to the ground they go. A big gaping hole. That offensive line has been excellent tonight, and it's the third touchdown of a rainy night for this Davison offense. Back-to-back weeks of Lapeer taking a deflating blow in the latter stages of the opening half. Flowers takes it all the way home, 55 yards to Pater, and now this Davison team is up 21-0 on the road here at Lapeer. Hopkins in to attempt the extra point, trying to make it 22-0 with 1:12 to go in the second quarter. He's 1 for 1 today. Make it 2 for 2. And Davison is up 22. 1:12 to go in the opening half. A commanding lead on a night that doesn't exactly feel conducive to offense for a Lapeer team that doesn't do much outside of running the football. This now feels like a very high hurdle to climb. Davison entered tonight double-digit favorite. They've won each game this season by at least 2 touchdowns. They've only allowed double digits once this season. They're 5-0, unblemished. And perhaps a bit more motivated than usual tonight, knowing that Lapeer was the last team to beat them a season ago. We mentioned that interesting run to the state championship victory over Brighton for Davison. Lost 2 of their final 3 regular season games in 2019, but picked it up after that. Lapeer was one of the teams that beat them in overtime. Then the magnificent run to winning their first state title. All indications point toward it being certainly realistic that they could win back-to-back this season. Right now, though, the goal will be carrying this commanding 22 lead into the locker room. The kick is off with 1:12 to go in the second quarter.
Kick goes through the end zone for a touchback. It'll be 1st and 10 Lightning at the 20-yard.
Hard to believe it was once a 76-degree day. I think it's about 40-something now. All of our bodies are shivering up top on the press box here. The rain has slowed down. The wind has slowed down a bit, but it gets colder and colder here in Lapeer, Michigan on this October 23rd night. Week 6 of the high school football season. We were so happy when it got underway. All of a sudden it's week 6. Blink an eye and we have the playoffs coming up here pretty soon. We'll have coverage for you on our Detroit Free Press streams. Pleasure to have you alongside us tonight. Again, we apologize for the earlier technical difficulties due to the weather. The Davison defensive line picks up with the momentum that the offense left off with. Appeared to be a loss of 3 as Lapeer goes back to Brady McKenna with 55 seconds and ticking left on the second quarter clock. 22-0 the Davison lead. Lightning are now backed up at their own 16. Just half a minute to play. Appears as though that Lapeer will just go out for one more before we head into the break. They go back to Brady McKenna. His block gave him a bit of room, but Davison knows they love to go to those edges. 3 white jerseys there promptly, and that'll take us into the break as the clock winds down on the opening half. 22-0 is the Davison lead for the defending state champs on the road. Their fans traveled well. We'll take this quick moment to remind you that our Diamond Elite sponsor is Detroit Public Schools Community District. Our children need to be in school as every school day counts for their academic, social, and emotional development. Detroit Public Schools Community District is preparing students for their rise and has implemented a safe return with options to meet the needs of our families, including face-to-face learning and online learning at home or in a learning center. The DPSCD team has been working hard to serve families during this difficult time and remains focused on providing outstanding academic, arts, and athletic programs and exceptional student education services. Please join us in thanking DPSCD teachers and staff for preparing your child's rise to build a stronger Detroit. Enroll your child at Detroit Public Schools Community District by visiting DetroitK12.org or calling 313-240-4377. Remember, when students rise, we all rise. Nick, I'm gonna jump down for a sec. Oh yeah, look. Well, actually I didn't. man. All right, I need hand sanitizer. Ah. Okay.
Hopkins kicking off for Davison.
Welcome back to Detroit Free Press Game of the Week. A 22-0 Davison lead after one half of play. And off we go from Lapeer High School for the second half. This rivalry matchup mentioned in the first half that these teams have split the last 4 meetings they've played. But Davison in control tonight. This was what we kind of expected. Davison came in as a 2-touchdown favorite at a late score after a penalty. Kind of felt deflating for Lapeer to close out the half in that way. Very similar to how they closed out the half a week ago against Brother Rice, giving up that return on the blocked field goal attempt that led to them trailing by 3 scores at the end of the first half of that game as well. Lapeer coming off their worst loss of the season against Brother Rice. That was a 42-7 game. They get a rare pass to the flanks there, but it does find the running back, Brady McKenna. So Lapeer offense is very run heavy. It's McKenna throwing the ball. My apologies, out to Little John. So utilizing McKenna for the most part in the passing game, in the running game, whatever it may be, he's involved on virtually every snap. Also works defensively as a linebacker. Lapeer deferred to open up the game, so now their first offensive drive of the second half going into the wind that is blowing heavily from left to right. The rain has really picked up again. McKenna takes a low snap. Offensive line opens up a pretty gaping hole on the right side. That was a 2nd and 10 carry. Davison up 22-0. We'll give them a gain of 6 on 2nd and 10. So it'll bring up 3rd and, oh, they'll actually give them, they'll give them a little more, so maybe a gain of 6 or 7. So brings up 3rd and 1 now for this Lapeer offense. Kind of their forte. You know what they're going to do if you're the Davison defense. They're ramming it right at you. 10.5 to play in the 3rd quarter. 22-0 is the Davison lead. You're certainly not out of this if you're Lapeer. You string together a few lengthy drives. The key obviously is defensive stops as well, because this does feel like a pretty high hurdle to climb given what you try to do on offense. Again, out of kind of that wildcat look. They'll keep it on the ground. Davison defensive line was ready, and the Lapeer offense will not pick up what they needed on 3rd and 1. We've seen them now twice go for it, backed up inside of their own 30. Went for it on their own 25 in the first half. Felt risky, and they were stopped on 4th and 7 from their own 25. We were kind of baffled, but you think about this weather, you can't do much special team-wise. You're already kicking into the wind. Ball is very wet. $5:27 to play. Sorry, 9:23 to play in this 3rd quarter. Apologies for any sightline issues in this 3rd. The weather is very difficult tonight. No receivers in this set. I believe there are flags flying. It is a delay of game against Lapeer, so that'll set them back from 4th and 1 to now 4th and 6 at their own 24. Likely keep the offense out there. They will. A big play here. 4th and 6 for Lapeer from their own 24-yard line. Down 22-0 to the visiting Davison Cardinals. Now we get another timeout called as Lapeer will try to sort things out on the sideline. Little recap of the first half. Well, we go to this quick timeout. 2 touchdown runs from Brendan Sullivan, the Northwestern commit and starting QB for Davison. We knew he probably wouldn't do much through the air tonight considering this weather, but he has his legs still. Those aren't leaving him in the rain. He's excellent on the ground, dual threat QB. Some list him as a pro-style quarterback, but he can roll out of the pocket with the best of them. With 8:33 to play in this 3rd quarter. The other touchdown came from the legs of Flowers, also on the ground. So Davison has adjusted, and that's what good teams do in bad weather situations. Now we'll see a punt from the Lapeer offense, so they ought to adjust with plenty of time to go from their own 24. It's a matter of how deep will this punt go. Either way, Davison should get some really good field position. It's pretty decent. Going to take a hop and a Davison roll to at least settle the returner down back at the 48 of Davison. That was Tavion Warren, the transfer from Grand Blanc. It does a lot for them. They loved having him come into this offense. It'll now step out onto the field. Once again led by Brendan Sullivan, the 6'3" senior QB. Warren now back out onto the field in the passing game. Game opened up with a few quick passes from Sullivan when the weather was a little better. Deion Brown Jr. has 3 receptions in the game. They go to the air here on 1st and 10 from their own 47. Little throw underneath, had 4 targets that time, but it's incomplete. Hopped off the gray turf, and there's a flag on the play. We'll see where this comes in. It's right on the midfield logo at the 50. With 8:12 to go in this third quarter, clock stops. It's a personal foul against Davison. So this is going to set them back quite a bit here, and they know it. Second personal foul of the night against the Cardinal. Davison at 5-0 in the season. Lapeer at 3-2. The 15-yard penalty will back Davison up from the 47 to their own 32. They hand it off on this 1st and 25 situation, and a hole opens up to at least get some of that yardage back. Heiderman, the ball carrier, brought down by Nicholas Young. With 7:57 to go in the third quarter. 22-0 is the Davison lead. Gets them back to the 46 to set up 3rd and 11. Drive originally started at the 47, so got that chunk back, but now a 3rd and long situation. They haven't had to deal with much of this tonight. Done really well with getting those 1st and 2nd down chunks, but the penalty set them back on this time. Now 3rd and long, obvious passing down situation, another screen, and it's a good one on the left-hand side. Up the sideline goes Brown Jr. inside of the 30 of Lapeer. 7:11 to play in this third quarter. After they were set back to 1st and 25 at their own 24, they now make it to the Davison 30. So once again, another very deflating defensive series for Lapeer. Seen a lot of that over the past couple of weeks for them. You back a team up to 1st and 25, they get a good chunk, then you're still putting them in 3rd and long. Can't hold them there, so now all of a sudden Davison on the groove and on the move again. 7:11 to play in the third, they're up 22-0. Despite the rain, they've worked out of the shotgun for most of the night. At least the advantage now is they have the wind at their backs. They go to the ground this time. Siderman broke through the initial plethora of defenders and picks up a really good chunk on 1st down. A gain of about 7 or 8. That's more like it for this Davison offense. Let's say a gain of 4, so 2nd and 6. 6:46 to play in the third. Kind of a listless Lapeer crowd at the moment. Trying to find something to cheer about. This rivalry night. It's a cold one here in Lapeer. It was, as we mentioned, I don't know how this was once a 76-degree day, but it was at some point in a different life. They go back to the grounds. More good blocks here for the Davison running game. That's senior offensive line. Senior-led offensive line. Blaine Richardson up front along with Isaac Norton opening up the holes there. The Flowers carry. 5:53 to go in the third quarter. 22-0 is the Davison lead. Another check to the sideline for this Davison offense that had 61 points a week ago and their win over Arthur Hill. Dion Brown Jr. cuts it upfield, and he's into the end zone. The senior receiver, who had 2 touchdown catches a week ago, makes it in the end zone rather easily. It's the first touchdown pass of the night for Brendan Sullivan. He's got 2 on the ground, now 1 through the air, and Davison is up 28-0 with 5:14 to play in the third quarter. Little trouble there on the extra point. Now they'll try to throw it towards the end zone for 2 more, and it's complete to make it 30-0 in favor of Davison. Everything going right now for the Cardinals, whether they draw it up or not. Ball hit the turf, didn't matter. Tack on 2 more. 5:14 to play in the third. And the Cardinals are cruising on the road. We'll take this time to remind you that tonight's Detroit Free Press Game of the Week is presented by Detroit Public Schools Community District. Every school day counts for our children's academic, social, and emotional development. Detroit Public Schools Community District is preparing students for their rise and is safely providing face-to-face learning and online learning at home or in a learning center. Enroll today. Visit DetroitK12.org or call 313-240-4377. Remember, when students rise, we all rise. Now Davison set to kick it away, up 30-0, in control and in command on the road with 5:14 to play in the third quarter. We get a flag flying at the ends of that tackle. It looks like it could have potentially been a horse collar. Nathan Morey on the return. As the wind picks up, this Lapeer offense that has struggled the last couple of weeks will now try to go into a very heavy wind. So as we thought, it is a horse collar tackle. With 5:14 to play in the third. That helps them out at least a little bit. If there is one blemish right now on this 30-0 score in favor of Davison for the undefeated Cardinals at 5-0 in the season, perhaps it is the penalties. That's the third 15-yarder they've given up tonight. A couple of personal fouls as well. A high snap there, QB keeper. Hole looked like it would open up for a second, but this Davison defense just pursues the ball so well. Strong at the point of attack. The scouting report was obviously in their minds tonight. You notice offensively there for Lapeer, they try to do anything they can to throw the opposing defensive line off, open up holes with motion beforehand, misdirection plays, counter runs, but it just has not worked tonight. And a one promising drive that was cut short just shy of the 50. 4:31 to go now in this third quarter. 30-0. The Davison lead on a windy, rainy night here in Lapeer. Another high snap, another keeper. They go to the right side again, but the white shirts are there promptly. go back to McKenna, brought down by Carter Hellman and company. No gain on the play, brings up 3rd and 9 now for this Lapeer offense from their own 34 with 3:50 to play in the 3rd quarter. Davison up 30-0. Time they go to the air. They don't do this a lot. And a pass that didn't have a chance. Looking downfield there as the Davison linebackers dropped back in coverage. Intentions there for Hartley, but it'll bring up 4th and 9. And that'll call for the special teams unit for Davison. For Lapeer, I should say. My apologies. Their second punt of this 3rd quarter. 3:25 to go. 30-0 is the Lapeer lead. Or the Davison lead, sorry. 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 of them on the legs of Brendan Sullivan tonight for Davison. And most recent, a connection with Deion Brown Jr. through the air. We'll see if they can replicate that. I mentioned that connection between Sullivan and Deion Brown Jr. in the first half. Those 2 seniors are going to be a big part of this offense moving forward. Hopefully in some better weather down the road here in the playoffs. But tonight, it was a mixture of the ground game and now most recently blending in the passing game as well. But Brown Jr. with 4 receptions tonight and a touchdown catch. Back-to-back weeks now, the touchdown catch for Brown Jr. They got Tavion Warren in the mix as well. Siderman in the running game. He's played a key role. 3:16 to go in the 3rd. 30-0. The Davison lead. First and 10 from their own 38. They love those tunnel screens, and here's another one, and it picks up a big chunk on 1st down. Looks like a gain of 8 as they go back to Flowers, who's responsible for one of the touchdowns tonight by way of his legs. They like to mix him into the running game in addition to the passing game.
Brought down by 26, Solinski.
It was brought down that time by Solinski. It was a gain of 8, so 2nd and 2 with 2:47 to go in the 3rd. It kind of feels like one of those bone-crunching old NFL films type games in a Green Bay or in a Minnesota. A lot of running, cold weather, rain. It's playoff time, isn't it? Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. 1st down through the air this time, and more up the sideline. This might be 6 more for Davison. The touchdown signals are up, and the Cardinals are cruising. Jalen Murray Flowers into the end zone for the 2nd time tonight. Flag in the end zone at the end of that run, but right now the score is 36-0 in favor of Davison. With 2:13 to go in the 3rd quarter. Referees convene. You wonder if this is some sort of personal foul at the end of the play. As the game has now slipped out of the grasp of Lapeer on their home field. The Lightning are now staring at back-to-back losses for the first time this season. It is a personal foul and sportsmanlike conduct at the end of the play there, but still 36-0 and trying to make it 37. They've converted on multiple 2-point conversions tonight. They do appear to just be lining up for the extra point. Flag flies. 3rd time we've seen that on an extra point attempt tonight for Davison. I mentioned they're unblemished right now, 5-0 in the season. This is actually on Lapeer. But if we do flip it on the Davison side, the one thing you look at is probably the penalties, trying to clean that up. Because as you get deeper into the playoffs, when that gets underway, you face teams that you can't afford to do that against. And it's the Davison teams that knows that. They obviously made the run last year to the state championship and won the state title 35-25 over Brighton. This is where they turned on the Jets last year, looking for 11 consecutive wins dating back to last season, and they appear to be en route to doing that tonight. Dominant night for Davison once again. All of their wins have come by at least 2 touchdowns this year. Oftentimes in the second half of the season, they've been able to rest starters. We're seeing that again tonight with 2:13 to go in the third. And it feels pretty good to do it against a rival, especially on the road. Davison fans have traveled well, sticking it out here in the cold, windy weather on a Friday night. With some warm tea or a hot coffee or hot chocolate would feel better than usual when you get back home tonight. Kudos to this Davison offense for putting up 37 on the board in this weather, oftentimes going into the heavy wind, into the heavy rain tonight. 2:13 to play now in the third. 37-0 is the lead in favor of the Cardinals. An offense that's been prolific all season long, didn't let up tonight.
We'd like to thank our 2 radio stations here in town for supporting Lapeer sports all year long. 12:30 a.m. WNBC, along with running religious station in the nation. And also 103.1 WQUS, US 103.1. Thank you for your support of Lapeer sports.
That skips out of bounds just prior to the pylon, so the flag will come out due to the infraction.
Kick goes out of bounds.
And now on the storyline of Lapeer, 3-2 on the season through 5 games. Not quite what they did a year ago. They lost the opening game a season ago, then ripped off 8 consecutive wins before losing to Davison in the district round of the playoffs. It was a team that had state final aspirations a year ago. This season, not quite as much balance offensively. You think that will be a challenge heading into the weeks ahead in postseason play? It's been a challenge for them over the past couple of weeks here, and it really bit them today. Just haven't found any sort of consistent offensive momentum. The offensive line looked good at points last week despite the scoreboard, losing 42-7 to Brother Rice. This is going to be back-to-back weeks of losing by at least 4 touchdowns, most likely.
Davison timeout.
So Davison timeout at the moment. 2:13 to play in the third. Pleasure to have you with us on the Detroit Free Press Game of the Week. As the offense heads back out now for Davison. Sorry for Lapeer.
Ball started at the 50-yard line.
Some of the best field position that Lapeer has had all night, setting up at the 50. They've only been inside of Davison territory once. That was back in the first quarter. Back to the ground they go, and the Davison defense ready once more, leading the way. That time, Landon Kish, 190-pound linebacker.
Then initially by number 9, Harriman. Also number 5, Landon Kish.
It's an aggressive defense for Davison, and they really, going up against this offense for Lapeer, haven't had to do much other than bring the heat on the line. You don't have to drop much back in coverage against this kind of an offense. So you can bring the corners and the safeties up a bit more, and we've seen that today. The Wildcat offense just hasn't done much for Lapeer tonight. Oftentimes they'll try to find edges on misdirection plays and counters, but the sidelines haven't been there as well. Now a couple of receivers to look for on the far side of the field, top of your screen for the Lapeer offense, but they do keep it again, trying to cut it upfield on 1st and 12. Or 2nd and 12, I should say. My apologies there. Landon Kish once again on the defensive line for Davison. Ball spotted now at the 49-yard line, so just inside of Davison territory for the Lapeer offense. As we're under a minute now to go in this third quarter. 42 seconds and ticking. It's a 37-0 Davison lead. That brings up 3rd and 9 for the Lapeer offense. Likely 4-down territory here, just trying to dump it over the middle. Pass was telegraphed and nearly picked off. That's kind of the issue for this Lapeer offense, though. That's about as much as they can do in the passing game, or what you find in their playbook. Well, time expires on the third quarter of play. 37-0 in favor of Davison after 3 here in Lapeer, Michigan. We'll step aside momentarily on your Detroit Free Press Game of the Week.
Recognize our cheerleaders, Rachel Bonesfield, Katie Fleetmeyer, Olivia Fry, Abigail Fry, Jane Jaydock, Randy Press, Allison McNulty, Chloe Moore, Kelsey Moore, Mackenzie Nowak, Sylvia Pearsall, Karina Wright, Emma Sarakowski, Savannah Stevens, and Anna Barris. The coaches are Nicole Curtis and Stacy Bean.
Welcome back to your Detroit Free Press Game of the Week. The Lapeer offense finds a hole for the first time tonight. This is what they love to do, and their fans will have something to cheer about. Just prior to the end zone, they're going to call them down. 48 yards, they needed 49 on 4th and 9. Just shy of the end zone at the 1. It's a 37-0 Davison lead. That gives the Lapeer fans something to hold their hats on. They pick up 48 from the 49-yard line of Davison there. So 1 yard to go. We'll see if they can punch it in and avoid the shutout here. Clock ticking with 11:08 to go in the fourth quarter. That was McKenna on the 48-yard run. They came up 1 yard shy, and they pick up the 1 yard they do need to avoid the shutout tonight. It's a loud stadium here at Lapeer when they are on their game, and you can hear it even down 37-6 now. Fun atmosphere. It really has been tonight, despite the lopsided score in favor of Davison. This is always a neat rivalry. We've had some rivalries so far this season on a Detroit Free Press Game of the Weeks. Had the Livonia-Churchill, Livonia-Franklin game earlier this season. That was a fun one. This one's been close these last several years. These teams have split the last 4 meetings. Now they try to go for 2. I don't think that was a design play, though. The snap was just high. So that's unsuccessful. 37-6 now the score in favor of Davison. 10:49 to play in the 4th. Grinding this one out on a rainy, windy, and very chilly night here in Lapeer. I'd like to thank our cameraman, Nick, tonight, who's alongside me, our producer of the broadcast. They're both kind of sticking it out through this weather. More games for you tomorrow on DetroitFreePress.com and Twitch and YouTube.
David Smith kicking off for the Lightning.
David Smith set to kick off for Lapeer. Lapeer team that'll likely fall to 500 tonight, 3-2 on the season. While Davison looking to get to 6-0 and take this one from their own 15. A gap opens up here for Flowers, who has been explosive all night, and he'll give Brendan Sullivan and company some decent field position with 10.5 to play in the 4th. Gets out to about the 45 on the return.
Ball spotted on the 45-yard line.
I'd say that for this offense, on the Davison side, we mentioned earlier, they've done what great teams do tonight. They've adjusted to the circumstances. The weather gives you issues. Life gives you lemons, as you like to say, and they come out, go to the ground game. Offensive line steps up big. It's an experienced offensive line. They've got 3 rushing touchdowns tonight. They go back to the ground here. Another good chunk on first down. We've seen that all night. As they now get a little deeper into the depth chart, as they've been able to do all season long, thanks to these big leads. Up 37-6 now with 10:10 to go in the 4th quarter. It's a gain of 5 on first down, so 2nd and 5. From the 50. Brendan Sullivan, the Northwestern commit, in the shotgun. They go back to the ground. Didn't pick up anything there.
Lum on the carry.
Cameron Freeman on the tackle that time.
Stopped by 28. Looks like 28. Little John in on that stop. Loss is back to the 49-yard line.
Lost a yard on that occasion. So 3rd and 6 now for this Davison offense. Back at their own 49, just outside of Lapeer territory. Let's say all but one of their drives tonight have entered Lapeer territory. Going back to the ground, that's Tavion Warren. Grand Blanc transfer, the senior, gets just inside the 50 to bring up what'll be 4th and short, or 4th and 3. We'll see if they keep the offense out or opt to punt here with 8:34 to go in the 4th quarter. Davison up 37-6. They will go for it. We've seen both teams have their fair share of 4th down tries tonight. The Davison team now, I believe, 3 for 5 on 4th down so far today. Trying to draw the opposing defensive line offside. They get a flag flying on someone. There is some movement on the Lapeer side, but this appears to be on Davison. It is on Davison, a false start, so a 5-yard penalty. Move them back to their own 47.
It'll be 4th down and 8.
Now 4th down and 8, and a lot to punt.
Number 13, Hopkins in punt formation.
Hopkins will come in to punts, and looks like Brady McKenna, the lone man back for Lapeer, will drift inside of his own 15. Haven't seen a lot of punts tonight for Davison. It's a high punt that takes a Lapeer hop. It was not a good one. It'll roll back to about the 45 of Davison. So that now sets up a lightning offense that scored for the first time on their last drive. They'll mark it at the 43. $7:18 to go now in this 4th quarter. 37-6. The Davison lead. Once again, the Wildcat formation as we've seen all night long from this Lapeer offense. More room off the right side. Davison goes a bit deeper into the depth chart now. Lapeer keeping their starters out. And the holes have been a bit wider over the past few plays.
2nd down and 6.
Gain of 4 there on 1st down. So 2nd and 6 now for the Lapeer offense. 6:50 to play in the 4th quarter. So Lapeer team trying to avoid back-to-back weeks of being held under double digits. Lost 42-7 last week to Brother Rice. Back at home this week on the gray turf. Rivalry week. And promptly stopped there is McKenna on just a gain, or I'm going to say actually a loss of 3. That'll push him back to set up what'll be 3rd and 9 here for the Lightning offense.
Lost back to the 45-yard line. 3rd down.
Now 3rd and 8 with 5:46 to go. Back to the ground as usual, and the Davison defense is ready once more. Nagermeister on the carry. Stopped immediately by Carter Lapeer.
Brought down by number
5:30 to play in the 4th quarter. 37-6 is the Davison lead. These are two programs, as we mentioned, that have been so consistent in recent years.
Also number 42.
It's now a Davison team looking for yet another. They will have yet another playoff appearance, but the goal is raised up to yet another state title. Can they claim back-to-back state titles after the win over Brighton a season ago, and then for Lapeer, you're looking at, I believe, 6 consecutive playoff appearances. So, 2 heavyweights in the Saginaw Valley League. This is a Blue Division matchup. On 4th and 6, they go to the air, and it's picked off. Back the other way, Davison will try to take it. It was intercepted that time, I believe, by Deion Brown Jr. That was Nick Papadakis on the interception. Our apologies for any sighting issues tonight. The notes have pretty much been washed away due to the rain. That's Nick Papadakis, the senior. Had a really good week last week. Had an interception a week ago. So back-to-back weeks with an interception now for Nick Papadakis. It is a personal foul against Davison. That's, once again, the one thing that they'd like to clean up tonight is the penalties. That's, I believe, now the 4th 15-yard penalty on Davison to take some yardage off that interception return from Nick Papadakis. But back-to-back weeks again now with an interception for Nick Papadakis. 4:38 to play in the 4th. It's a 37-6 Davison lead. And now Brendan Sullivan and the offense can step back out onto the field.
After the game. We thank you for your understanding and cooperation. Thank you for attending tonight's game.
They keep it on the grounds. They can kind of just grind out the clock now.
24 Orcutt. Clifton Orcutt on that last carry.
That was Orcock on the carry as they continue to get some extra bodies in here. They're going down the depth chart. They've been able to do this and get players experience that they feel could work well in the offense down the road at certain points.
Second down and 8 at the 40.
It's a Davison team that isn't opposed to bringing up younger players onto the varsity roster. Seen that with a player like Flowers offensively, one of their running backs, who was just a sophomore in varsity a year ago, had a big season. They feel they're set up very well for the future to keep what they've built up going. Right now, the future is bright for this Davison program, as they'll move to 6-0 on the season as Orcock gets another carry. Head coach Jake Weingartz loves his players. They love him. It's a very familial program. Again, Davison up 37-6 with now just 3 minutes to play in the 4th quarter. They go to the air. Sullivan looking for Deion Brown Jr. just beyond the sticks. Couldn't quite find him on 3rd and 2.
Cameron Freeman. Broken up by number.
Offense is 3 for 5 on 4th down tonight. They'll go to the punting unit here.
Hopkins in punt formation for Davison.
Take this quick moment to remind you that tonight's Detroit Free Press Game of the Week is presented by Detroit Public Schools Community District. Every school day counts for our children's academic, social, and emotional development. Detroit Public Schools Community District is preparing students for their rise and is safely providing face-to-face learning. Enroll online, at home, or in a learning center. Enroll today. Visit DetroitK12.org or call 313-240-4377. Remember, when students rise, we all rise.
Ball goes out of bounds on the 32-yard line, but there's a flag on the play.
Now just 2:43 to go in the fourth quarter. A 37-6 lead for Davison. Into the dwindling moments of this rivalry night here in Lapeer. It's another 15-yard penalty on Davison. It sets Lapeer up at the 47-yard line, their own 47.
Hey, we'd like to also remind everybody, please, following the conclusion of tonight's game, look around your area and please pick up any trash in the Podstat and the
Gosh, for these fans, once again, a good coffee, a good hot chocolate, maybe a hot tea. Sounds delightful going home from this one. Just can't believe it was once a 76-degree day. And that was another lifetime ago. As time winds down, just 2:25 to go in the fourth quarter here. 37-6, the Davison lead. Once again, it was a pleasure to have you tonight on our Detroit Free Press Game of the Week. Lapeer just couldn't execute the game plan of running the football and opening up holes consistently against a very well-prepared Davison defense in this wet weather.
No gain on the play, third down and 11.
Davison was often going into the wind. Or I should say Lapeer was often going into the wind, as they are once again now. Clock ticks with just 1:38 to play in the fourth quarter. This is a tough couple of weeks on the Lapeer schedule as well. You mentioned the Brother Rice game a week ago, now playing the defending D1 state champs in Davison, and a couple of tough tasks for an offense that hasn't found their rhythm. Now a fumble, or well, they say he was down. The knee was down prior to the ball coming loose. So with 1:01 to play in the fourth, clock keeps ticking, under 60 seconds now. 4th and 11 is the down and yardage to go for Lapeer. So likely just a couple more plays in this one. In this rivalry, examining it, taking a step back, it'll be now back-to-back wins for Davison over Lapeer, dating back to last season's district playoff matchup. Half a minute to go now, and it'll be a sweet taste in the mouths of Davison fans as they ride back home tonight with a big win over their rivals to get to 6-0 on the season and remain unblemished. O'Dane on the carry. Papadakis, who has now back-to-back weeks with an interception, made the tackle. I'm going to get one more timeout here with 9 seconds to play. Fans begin to file out. Victory formation.
That's the last play of the game
For Sullivan and this prolific offense, despite the wet weather, continues tonight on the Davison side. Another 30-point night, and they have won every game this season by at least 2 touchdowns. Davison gets to 6-0 to remain unbeaten as they get set to head into the playoffs in the coming weeks. 37-6 the final score as Davison gets to 6-0, and Lapeer wraps up the regular season at 3-3. Once again, it was wonderful to have you on our Detroit Free Press Game of the Week. A 37-6 commanding victory on the road for the Cardinals, the defending D1 state champs, hoping to repeat this season. And all indications point toward that being a possibility. Well, you have a wonderful weekend. Wishing you hopefully a bit warmer weather as we head into Saturday tomorrow. So long from Lapeer.